Gentlemen, and welcome here as we get ready for the 7th race of the Elite Racing League MegaDriver86 series, getting ready for our second road course stop of the season here at the Tsukuba circuit. And for a long time, he's been absent, but he's back. Tom Bourne joins me here in the booth this evening. And Tom, what a race to make your return here.
Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to be back. I've missed being up in the booth. Unfortunately, some life events have happened, but I'm back, ready to watch an amazing race, hopefully.
Definitely, we know that the first road course race at Sebring was absolutely crazy. It seemed like everywhere you looked, whether it was at the front, middle, rear of the field, something was always happening, and expecting the same thing here today. This track, a little over 2 miles in length. It would be 14 turns, but they are not using the chicane of this road course, so it's actually only 12 corners. But it will be interesting to see what these drivers will do. 60 laps in length. We've basically established that they'll probably have to pit at least once, and we saw back at Sebring how that green flag pit stop kind of came into play and who was going to finish top 5, who wasn't going to, who finished in the top 10, etc. And we saw Chad Frankenfield take the checkered flag in that road course race. What are your thoughts? Is he the guy we should look at to maybe double down, go 2 for 2 at the road courses this season?
I definitely think he's a player to watch. There's, from what it looks like in practice and qualifying, there's a few fast people tonight. Ryan Lutz is definitely one to watch out for. David Tooker, another one. Really, the whole top half of the field was under half a second of each other. So really, one mistake and someone else is going to be right on top of you.
It was at Sebring where we saw Jared Campbell make his first start of the season, drove it to a top 5 finish of 5th place. Last week, he became the 6th different driver to go to victory lane in the series, clinching himself a spot in this season's playoffs. But we've been basically looking here during practice, during qualifying. They actually have group qualifying this race this weekend, which I think is the first time they've done this all season. But a couple of names that we've seen up there at the top of the board of drivers that haven't won. Damian Leniger right now top of the board. Looks like he'll be starting on the pole. David Tooker, who, if I recall correctly, finished 2nd at Sebring. So we know that he knows how to get it done at road courses. You mentioned Lutz, Isaiah Dupree. A lot of names that we haven't really talked about up at the front at the ovals and at the short tracks. But here at the road courses, these are definitely the types of tracks that they have circled on their schedule as places where they can pounce and maybe pick up a checkered flag.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be exciting to watch. I mean, the playoffs are coming sooner. As the season starts winding down, people that haven't gotten a win that might need a win, what are they going to do to actually get that win to get into the playoffs? Are they going to become more aggressive, or is strategy going to change? Are they going to move people out of the way on the last lap? Even before the last lap, maybe. You never know when it comes down to the end of the season, the regular season.
Really start to see people's aggression pick up as we draw closer and closer to the end of the year.
So
and of course, as well, we've got nothing but speedways to finish out the season after this, too.
I just want to interrupt one thing. So, remember how you said Damien was going to get the pole? Well, Frankenfield just broke the 55-second barrier with a 55.950. He's top of the board right now.
He absolutely is. And if I recall correctly, I believe he was the pole sitter for Sebring, too. So it looks like he may go back-to-back poles at our 2 road course stops. One thing I'm going to be really interested about this race, too, just something that comparing this to Sebring. At Sebring, everybody seemed to get spread out really quickly. You had battles here, battles there, but they were few and far between. The reason was because it was a big road course. It took over 2 minutes to make a lap time around there. Here, as you just mentioned, Frankenfield got it done in less than a minute, 55.9, his qualifying time. So I think everybody's going to be in closer proximity. I think we're going to see a lot more battling all the way through the field. And another thing I saw that's different from Sebring here at Tsukuba is the fact that these drivers seem to have a little bit more grip to work with. They were slipping and sliding around at Sebring. I think with a little bit of added grip I'm seeing these drivers being able to utilize here, we're going to see maybe a little bit cleaner race, but a lot more aggressive racing through the field and a lot more battles for position.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's going to be a lot more packed racing because we have long straightaways here. Sebring, I don't know much about road courses because I'm an oval guy myself, but Sebring, I know there's a lot of tight turns and not many high-speed areas. You know, this track has at least 2 high-speed areas going, you know, down the front stretch and, you know, after turns 1 and 2. It could possibly lead to major passing zones or even just straightaway battles. You know, it all matters how you get off that final corner going down the straightaway, and it could set up for really good battles or even really good passing coming to the finish.
I'm more an oval guy myself as well. The only road courses I have any knowledge of are Watkins Glen, Sonoma, you know, the tracks that you normally see on the NASCAR circuit. So, you know, I was looking at this track, I was looking at its layout, and I'm thinking, okay, where would be the typical passing zones here? And then I thought, wait a minute, I tried doing this for Sebring, and they were making passes in corners that I designated as no passing zones. So I'm just going to throw my hands up and say, hey, we're just going to see what's going to happen, see where these guys are able to make their cars work as they're getting ready to grid, and we're getting ready to have them roll off and get ready to go. We're going to show you guys the current of the drivers that took time. If drivers didn't take time, then they obviously won't be on our starting grid, unfortunately. But you can see Chad Frankenfield, Damian Leniger there on the front row. And as it goes through the field here, who are your ones to watch here, Tom?
Definitely Frankenfield is going to be one to watch. I personally, I'm going to be looking at the top 5. The top 5 in qualifying, they're fast. You know, Dupree, I think, is going to be a dark horse. You know, and it really at a road course, anything can happen. So you could be fast one lap, but then one mistake and you could be off track, and there goes your race.
Absolutely, and usually at the road courses too, there's no safer barriers to save you. Usually it's a steel guardrail, tire barriers, some kind of wall that is unforgiving. So yeah, if you get off course, it could be the end of your race. One driver that I noticed is not in the field tonight, and that is 2-time winner Tyler Riggs. So 2 drivers in particular I would watch in this race would be Chad Frankenfield, who ended up having to park last week. That lost him a bit of ground in the point standings, a fellow 2-time winner along with Riggs, and also Jared Campbell coming off his victory last week. I think they're going to look at this as a prime opportunity, knowing that they're really good at road courses, to be able to either tie with 2 wins or leapfrog over Tyler Riggs with 3 wins if you're Frankenfield, as far as building up playoff points for when the playoffs begin.
So this could also bring a new points leader tonight. I don't have the points up in front of me, but Riggs is the points leader going into this race.
He is. He got 5 points in hand over Frankenfield. Ethan Burrell, who had a second-place run last week at Twin Ring Motegi, he's currently 3rd in points, 29 points out. Tate Lytle's not in the field tonight. He came in 4th in the standings. Joshua Clark currently in 5th, and the rest of your top 10 in points come to this one. Andrew Rucker, Jared Rexing, who's not in the field tonight, and then Rishav Khosla, David Tooker, who finished runner-up at our last road course stop at Sebring. He's 9th, and Kendall Noah Player, our Pocono winner, currently is in 10th. So, yeah, a couple of guys up there in the points that are not racing here tonight as green flag waves, and we're underway here at Tsukuba.
As you already see the field starting to fan out going down to turn 1, Ethan Burrell thought about making a move to the right side of David Tooker as Frankenfield tries to work his way away from the field. As we got a good battle for second going on right now.
Definitely do. Yeah, Damian Leniger and David Tooker trying to see who's going to be able to get the advantage through these corners. These corners are kind of evening out for whoever's on left or right side, but Leniger finally going to clear for the back.
Wow, car into the wall hard. The 13 and the 38 get into it. No caution as they both get going again.
A lot of damage on the 38 of both of them. They both don't have a hood anymore. M. Daniel Martinez and Vincent Isabella. And I think that 13 might be a little upset with the 38. He almost ran him over in that corner.
Yeah, it's definitely already we're not even 1 lap into the race and tempers are flaring. So this should breed some fun racing.
Good battle going on here for 5th. That's Isaiah Dupree making a move on Ethan Burrell. He'll clear for the spot. We talked to Ethan Burrell last week after his 2nd place run, and he said he was relying heavily on teammate David Tooker for advice how to get around this racetrack. Right now, he's under fire now for 6th from Andrew Rucker, and right behind them, Joey Bailey, who was a big player at Twin Ring Motegi last week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's got a great he's got a great person to ask for advice as Tooker's running third, trying to run down Langer for second. He's Tooker's been pretty consistent in practice and qualifying. He's putting down some good laps, and definitely I think he's going to be one to watch tonight.
Looking at the 55 of Joey Bailey, he locked him up there for a brief moment going into a corner. And right behind him, last week's winner, Jared Campbell, running in 9th place, almost 3 wide.
75 locks it up going into 1. Looks like
he tried 3 wide with Jared Campbell and Rishabh Khosla and then decided better of it.
Yeah, didn't really work out. Just locked it up. I think he just scraped the wall on the right side. Gets it back going again, though.
Logan Simmons in the 75. The AEW sponsorship on that car as he wheel hops it up over the corner. Go back up towards the front, and Chad Frankenfield, he hasn't exactly gotten away from Damian Leniger. But it looks like the battle for second might be brewing quicker than the battle for the lead.
Yeah, Frankenfield has definitely put a little bit of a gap on second and third right now. I mean, it's only a second, but that second could go away very, very quickly at road courses. We're only 4 laps in as Tooker really backing off going down to turn 1. That allows Lutz to gain some time on him.
Here you saw the wounded number 38 of M. Daniel Martinez coming back on track. He's going to merge just in front of 5th place running Isaiah Dupree. One thing I'm kind of wondering here too, with the fact these drivers seem to have a little bit more grip to work with than they did back at Sebring, do you think this is going to cause the tires to wear a little bit sooner?
Definitely. I think with we definitely think, I definitely think, I don't know why I said we, but I definitely think there's going to be bigger tire fall off just because there's higher speeds also. Like I said in the pre-race, Sebring is a lot tighter of a track, lower speeds. This track has, we're running around here, 57-second lap times, hitting, close to 140 miles an hour at some points. So it's definitely going to be tires are definitely going to mean something later in the race if we go on a long green flag run.
Pretty good battle there with Leniger, Tooker, and Lutz all lined up. And then behind them, they were pretty wadded up with Ethan Burrell and Andrew Rucker, Joey Bailey, Jared Campbell, and Rishabh Khosla all in that mix. For right now, looks like everybody is content to ride in their positions, maybe waiting until they realize what they've got under them as they get on older tires. And the 38, ooh, I thought he was going to lose it. He did. He actually spun off the track, did M. Daniel Martinez right in front of Ethan Burrell. Fortunately, nobody hit him as he's waiting to enter back onto the racetrack. So a bad start to the race continues to get even worse for the driver of the Coca-Cola Supra.
That had to have been scary for Ethan Burrell right there, as he could have easily seen his race go up in smoke, and we're only 6 laps in.
The front, Chad Frankenfield continues to lead the way. Looks like the gap closed up a little bit between himself and Leniger. And I'll tell you what, Ryan Lutz was putting a lot of pressure on David Tooker for third.
He still is. Wow, the 27 just sent it in there.
Dupree was laying down some really good lap times in practice. The thing we were kind of wondering was it just one and done lap times, practicing for qualifying, or did he really have good long run speed? I think we're getting the answer to that as he's currently in 5th, and boy, he closed up the gap on Lutz really quickly in that right-hander.
Yeah, you can definitely see Dupree really driving it in deep, but you see as Lutz, takes it easy going into the corners, he's getting that drive off.
That's the thing I would worry about if I'm Dupree, because he's locked it up a couple of times. Those front tires, they're going to start wearing pretty quickly here.
Exactly. You got to watch out. I mean, definitely watch Dupree going into 1 right here. He really drives it in deep. As, Lutz gets sideways. Can he save it? He does.
His right side's off the racing surface into the grass, and there is no grip there, but fortunately he was able to keep it straight. Lost him a little ground to David Tooker, and now brings Dupree back to his back bumper, and I think they're going into a corner here where we saw Dupree drive it in deep on the last lap.
Yeah, it's definitely, and like I was saying, as you drive it in deep,
oh man, almost lost it to the 27. He fishtailed it off that corner.
See, that it could be something as much as that. You keep driving it in deep, your tires are going to wear more because you keep locking them up, whether it's the front or the back. And if you drive it in deep, you're not going to have that drive off. Where if you take it in nice and easy, you're going to have that drive off the corner. You can see it between the 66 and the 27, two completely different driving styles into the corners and out of the corners. And you see the 66 taking it nice and easy going into the corners, getting that amazing drive off, the 27 being very aggressive going into the corners, and the 66 just gapping him coming out.
It definitely is getting much better corner exit. I noticed when they went into turn 1, I don't know if it's just the way they approached it or if the 27 carried too much speed, but Ryan Lutz was able to go right down to the rumble strip, and Dupree went about 2 grooves higher. He was much higher going through that corner, did not hit the same braking zones. We got a battle brewing for second. David Tooker tried to utilize the outside line through that right-hander, almost made up some ground, but he did not get the corner exit that Leneger did.
And while you're watching that, I've been watching this battle brewing for the 6th position between Baril, Rucker, and Bailey. Bailey was one of my guys to watch in practice. He was kind of, he was sitting, he started 8th, he's still running 8th, but he's shown a lot of consistent speed right now. And they're kind of all under a blanket right now for this battle for 6th, as Gerald Campbell, has joined the fray a little bit. But they're all putting down solid lap times, and it's definitely getting pretty racy back here. So this should get interesting.
As the run goes on, you start to see who's saved their tires, who didn't, who's got the stuff for the long run, who's used up their stuff for the short run. As we almost had a little bit of contact there between Lutz and Dupree again. I saw Dupree lock up the right front. But Andrew Rucker, I mean, I'm not surprised to see him running up here currently in the 7th position. He was actually a contender in the top 10 back at Sebring. A couple of issues due to not knowing people ahead of him in their braking zones. But aside from that, he really showed he knows how to get around the road courses. So kind of maybe a dark horse we should watch here as Bailey looks to make a move on him here in turn 1, and he's going to at least get alongside.
Bailey hit those rumble strips, got in the grass a little bit. It's going to cost him a little bit of time. I think that's what let Rucker get back by him.
It's going to bring Jared Campbell into this mix as well, as the two of them were side by side for a brief moment. Of course, you see a number of these drivers like Rucker, like Joey Bailey, running pink on their paint schemes, with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Move back up towards the front of the field, and this battle for second has not gone away. Still all over the back bumper of the 12 is the 19 of David Tooker. Now, do you think he's trying to battle for position, or is he currently just riding and sizing up the 12 car?
I think Tooker's faster right now. I really think Tooker's just biding his time, and I think he's going to see what he's got. As we still have, besides that battle, right behind them, the 27 and the 66 are still going at it. As the 66,
wow. Yikes! What a save, man. Ryan Lutz has had some issues there with turn 1, it seems. We saw him in the grass. That time he nearly fishtailed it around. I want to go back, too, because if we talk about Sebring, of course, we're referring to Sebring a lot, but of course that's the only road course we've run this season. But only 4 drivers led laps in that race. Those 4 drivers, 3 of them are in this race, and they're running 1st, 3rd, and 9th right now on the racetrack.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't at Sebring, so I don't know, what went on or what went down there. But, I personally, I don't think there's going to be a lot of different contenders here, because as much as, Sebring is a road course, this is a road course, this is a completely different road course, And honestly, I personally think that you're going to see a lot of different names rise to the occasions. We have a battle between Rucker and Bailey. They're side by side coming out of turn 1.
Bailey had gotten around Rucker at one point. Rucker passes him back.
And something I've noticed over these past couple laps, a lot of guys are using different lines out of that final corner. I've seen a lot of guys right on the rumble strips, but I've also seen a lot of guys trying to diamond the corner. Kind of like a old school Bristol effect on iRacing, where, you kind of arc it up and then you slam the throttle off. I'm not sure if that's really going to work in such a high speed corner.
As of right now, I've been trying to see, where the different passing zones are. Definitely looks like turn 1 coming down that long straightaway has definitely been a passing zone with drivers trying to outbrake each other. But aside from that, most of these other areas look like they're pretty narrow, and I think that really the only way you're going to be able to make a move on somebody is if you move them out of the way.
Or if they make a mistake. Because as we've seen it already, and we're only 13 laps in, as the laps are clicking away very quickly, people are making little mistakes. And especially if once the tires really get worn, maybe we see more mistakes.
Here's a question. With the fact that we've been able to go 12 laps, we're now on lap 13, under green flag conditions, what would your thoughts be as far as this pit stop they have to make? Do you split it right down the middle, come to pit road on lap 30? Do you go as far as you can, come to pit road, and try and finish out as few laps as you can on fresher tires? Or do you come to pit road early to try and get the jump on your out lap of other drivers that are just ahead of you?
Well, first of all, I don't know how many laps they can go on fuel. So if I knew that, I would probably give you a better answer. But the way everybody's racing right now, and I think the way tires are going to mean something, I think I would pit a little after halfway. Just because it'll give you enough time to make up the ground, but it'll still keep you close to the sequence with everyone else.
We had some one-on-one battles between Leniger and Tooker, and then Lutz versus Dupree. Now all four of them, you can throw a blanket over second back to fifth as they are all lined up nose to tail, and it's starting to get interesting for the runner-up spot on back.
Yeah, and just watch going into turn 1. Look at all these different braking points. You see as the 27 and 66 really close up on the 19 and the 12, but then they just get an amazing run off. I really think that's going to come into play as the 27 really sends it into the next corner. He gets sideways through it.
A feeling one of the first cars we'll see on pit road could very well be that 27 car, because he's going to have no rights left or no fronts left.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be the 27, and I definitely think it's going to be the 66 as well, as we go back in the pack a little bit into like the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th area. We got some nice battles going back here. We haven't really been back here at all. Josh Adams trying to work his way through the field. He started 27th. He's up to 16th now. He's great on road courses. Not his favorite, but he's pretty good. Austin Beers, he started 20th. He's sitting in 17th right now, and you've got 4 or 5 cars under a blanket right there. I definitely think it could get interesting, as we have, it looks like Campbell trying to get around Rucker right now for the 7th position.
He got around Joey Bailey for 8th, and now on the attack of the 64. And, we're looking back at these guys towards the rear of the field, and, I know obviously they want to be up here towards the front, but the thing that you have to really do at a road course is you have to size yourself up with the rest of the competition. Basically make a goal for yourself, like, okay, I know I can only run maybe as high as 13th. That's where I got to shoot for. Because if you try over driving here at a road course, you're going to find yourself off course, and you're going to find yourself with a wrecked race car. So we got a car around. That's the 83 of Stephen McGough. I believe he kept it going. We're still green, but he lost it on the front straightaway.
He's still going. Do you know what happened there?
Don't, but I have a suspicion it may have had something to do maybe with the 54 of Rishav Kosla.
No, he just lost it.
As we see the tires wearing down, I guess these drivers are losing grip. That's going to lose the 83 a lap. You see him going around the 73 of... I saw him sitting on pit road a couple of laps under green flag conditions. Back up to that battle for the 7th position. You got Rucker, Campbell, Joey Bailey, and you've also got Rishav Kosla, who I thought was involved in the wreck, but he wasn't. Oh, the 54. Where'd the 54 go?
Whoa!
Whoa, Bailey!
Oh yeah, Bailey. My bad.
He saved
Wow.
it though.
What
Man.
a save! Sorry, I was busy looking at the other battle we got going on for second.
Thought he was gonna lose it for sure. That's actually a lap car there. That's the 2 of Brandon Key that I saw behind the 55. There's
Wow.
Coleslaw in the Pikachu number 54, but tremendous save by Bailey, but you got to think that's going to wear those rears down.
This battle for second has gotten even more interesting.
Gur and Tucker still there. They're only about, I think the ticker's stating somewhere around, yeah, that far behind. And we saw at Sebring a lead like that get cut into. I think it was David Tucker came to pit road a little bit earlier than Frankenfield did, and he ate into what was a 2.8 second lead. So, you know, that could still happen here today if we have that pit stop. And so far we've had incidents, but we haven't had the caution come out. And that's the one good thing about road courses too, is we got those road course yellows that don't necessarily put the entire field under caution.
Right, and this is only a 60 lap race. Next lap, we're going to be a third of the way through this race already, and, you know, when are people going to pit? You know, you said it earlier, when do you want to pit? You would think, like, once these people pit, all right, well, that's it. I got to run my race now. I got to start pushing. I got to make moves. You know, we'll see what happens in the upcoming laps.
And I think that for Frankenfield right now, he's out there trying to lay down as good of lap times as he possibly can, trying to continue to grow his lead, because everybody behind him, if they decide they're going to duck to pit road, he's already past the pit road entry. So he has to wait another lap to come to pit lane. So they're basically the ones that get to call the shots. Now, I'm noticing something here that definitely came into play at Sebring, and that is slower traffic. Frankenfield has reeled in the 3 of Scott Haney. He's got the 94 of Kendall Noah Player just ahead of him as well. They're both in the tail of the lead lap. And we saw Frankenfield almost lose the win at Sebring when he had contact with Alex Balvant spinning in front of him.
Yeah, he just got loose trying to get past the 3. And it really didn't look like it affected him that much. But do you think that lap traffic is going to affect second, third, fourth, and fifth, or is it just going to affect the leader because, you know, they're trying to stay on the lead lap? And whoa, the 94 really getting loose going into the corner.
Well, one thing that I would kind of wonder about, it looks like in some of these areas, it's a little bit wider in the corners, so it's a little bit easier for the traffic to get out of the way. Back at Sebring, it was so narrow, you saw the slower machines diving into the grass just to get out of the way of the leaders. So I think it might not be as difficult for drivers back there like Tucker, like Leniger, like Dupree to maybe get by this slower traffic, but it all depends on if they catch them in an entry to a corner or if they catch them on a straightaway.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. That little bobble and that problem getting through the 3 that Frankenfield had, Leniger gained half a second that lap.
Got more traffic to deal with, does Frankenfield, now making the move on Kendall Noah Player. He's got Alex Balvance up ahead, Austin Beers in the 91, so his work is not over. You know, we've seen this before too. Drivers that are on the tail end of the lead lap are going to be more likely to battle the race leader to try and stay on the lead lap. If they're not successful in doing so, then they usually move over for second, third, fourth. So Frankenfield's the one that's really having the pressure put on him of having to try and put these guys a lap down.
Wait a second. What happened? What happened to Ryan Lutz? It looks like he pit.
Think he did. Yeah, he's back in the 14th spot. But I think you're right. He did come to pit road. So the gauntlet's been thrown down. I would kind of wonder if this is a little too early. Like we've both stated, we don't know what the fuel window is for these drivers, but if the fuel window opened to make it the rest of the way, the gauntlet's been thrown down by the 66.
Yeah, wow, a lot of problems for the 12 and the 19 as Tucker is to the left side of Langer, couldn't get through as Tucker does not sound too happy.
Broke up the field pretty much too. You got second and third here, then about 2-3 car lengths back to Dupree, and then another 3-4 car lengths back to Burl. Leniger having to deal with Austin Beers. Alex Balvance just went a lap down to race leader Chad Frankenfield, who now seems to be cutting his way through the traffic pretty well. He's got pretty clean racetrack now up ahead of him. It's going to be a while till he catches the next machine, which I believe would be the 41 of Dallas Myhand, currently in 19th place.
Yeah, he just with the 12 and the 19 trying to get through that lap traffic, and the 15 not having barely any lap traffic at all. The 12 lost at least a second and 2/10 to Frankenfield, and that's the stuff that, you know, could make or break the race right there. You know, you have that lap traffic with the final like 5 laps to go, and you can't get through it. Say you have a fast car that's, you know, trying not to go a lap down, or you have 2 cars that are trying to battle for a position to, and they're just in front of you. You know, that could hinder your race right there.
Definitely could, as you alluded to. It's now over 4 seconds. I think it's 4.1 seconds now between Frankenfield and Lenniger. And Lenniger's actually been able to open up a little bit of daylight between himself and David Tooker. So that battle for second that we've seen going on for the last 20 laps or so, all of a sudden that seems to have gone away.
Yeah, I think Tooker kind of used up his stuff a little bit trying to stick with Lenniger. You could see Tooker is kind of sliding all over the place at this point. I've seen him getting loose in the corners, starting to fishtail a little bit. But then again, you know, everybody is. So who knows?
Just to go back to your point about Ryan Lutz hitting pit road, when he came off pit lane, he was in 14th. In the last 3 laps, he has moved from 14th up to 11th. So I think that shows us just how important fresh tires are in terms of the lap times you lay down. I mean, the last lap laid down by Frankenfield was a 57.2, 56.3 for Ryan Lutz.
Yeah, so if he's good on fuel, I don't know if anybody pits any later. I don't know if that'll be enough time to really, if it cycles through, you know, maybe it will. I'm not sure. But right now, we all know Frankenfield, Langer, Tooker, everyone else has to pit. So right now, if it cycles through, Lutz is going to be sitting pretty.
Definitely will. I think he'll be sitting pretty, you know, when the pit stops cycle around. The only thing I'd be worried about with him coming to pit road as soon as he has, it's all going to depend on when Frankenfield then hits pit road. Because if Frankenfield stays out, let's say another 5, 6, 7 laps, that's 5, 6, 7 laps that are going to be used up on the 66. So his tires are going to wear away a lot quicker than the drivers that come to pit road a little bit later.
That's true, but also the time being gained right now by Lutz will counteract with what he's going to have for the lead when it all cycles through.
Good point.
So, you know, okay, so you might not have, you know, X amount of time. You'll, you know, and the thing is, with Frankenfield staying out longer, and if he stays out as long as he can, he's not going to have many laps to really catch whoever's in front. Now, if Lutz plays it smart, he saves his equipment and saves his tires, I really think that he could win this race. If this could be a bold strategy right here.
You're right. That exclamation by me. Andrew Rucker nearly lost it off the corner back there, but he keeps it straight as he and Joey Bailey battle for the 6th position. The battle for second starting to heat up again there with Lenniger, Tooker, and Dupree. And Frankenfield is starting to reel in more traffic. I believe it was the 11 of Matthew Weeks just up ahead of him.
27 sideways again into that corner. My goodness.
Dupree has used up every inch of this road course, if that's possible. He has been slipping and sliding everywhere.
The only part he has not used is the grass.
Almost used the 19's back bumper right there.
Yeah, well, listen, Dupree, I know you can't hear me, but let's not try and do that, as the 19 is literally right on the back bumper of the 12 going into that corner.
Now these guys are all battling for second, but it is going on way behind, 7 seconds back from race leader Chad Frankenfield. Maybe thinking about picking up a few spots as he now joins this trio. Currently in that 5th position, just trying to be consistent. I mean, right now, Frankenfield is going to stay ahead of him in points, but it's possible, he was only, I think, 29 points back, that maybe Ethan Burl can surpass Tyler Riggs for second in the standings heading next week.
I definitely think it's possible. Riggs isn't. I don't believe Riggs is going to get any points tonight. So, I think Burrell could take second place in the standings if he holds his position right now.
As things stand at this moment, Matthew Weeks just went a lap down. We have 15 cars still on the lead lap, and we got some pit stops here. Isaiah Dupree, Ethan Burl from 4th and 5th are on the access road, and they're coming to pit lane.
It was only a matter of time before Dupree was going to hit pit road. You saw him slipping and sliding everywhere.
This is right at the halfway point, too. This is lap 29 going on to lap 30. Joey Bailey also hitting pit lane from the 7th spot. See some of the front runners hit pit road, so you got to think that within the next couple of laps, we're probably going to see Frankenfield, Leniger, and others come to pit road. They don't want to lose the ground that they could on old tires. They're going to want to come and counteract with fresh tires of their own.
So the past 3 laps, Ryan Lutz has gained 5 seconds on Frankenfield.
In the 5th position, he's only 11 seconds back. I honestly think that he could maybe take the race lead when Frankenfield comes to pit road. He's not going to pit this time, though. Leniger is going to pass the access road, so does Tooker, so our top 3 all will stay out still. Oh, we got a car spinning back there. I believe that's the 2 of Brandon Key.
It is.
Middle of the track.
Will he be able to get it going? There's a lot of traffic coming. This could work out for the cars that just pit.
Could. Will they have to throw a full course yellow, or can he get that 2-car spun back around? He will. We're still green.
Wow. That could have changed the game right there.
It's such a difficult spot to try and get the car turned around, too, with oncoming traffic.
Boy, oh boy.
Frankenfield will continue to lead. We're still under green flag conditions, but that could very well, I wouldn't have blamed the officials for throwing a full course yellow there, especially with the fact he had to back up to get the car turned around, and you had cars on a straightaway coming full throttle.
Exactly. Top 3 stay out again as we go by this time. Rucker stays out. So Lutz is the first car on fresh tires.
My assumption is that Frankenfield's going to go as far as he can on fuel. I think he's going to push it as far as the window will go.
I think so as well. And just look at this distance put in between. So Lutz, between him and Dupree right now is, it looks like 11 seconds. If you're gaining a second a lap, that's going to be enough for him to catch Lutz. But when Frankenfield comes out, will that be enough for Frankenfield to actually run down the other cars that pass him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now, and Lutz is running a second a lap faster than Frankenfield. I think the big question is, did Lutz hit pit road right when the fuel window opened? If he can make it the rest of the way, then this is an unbelievable strategy that might work out in his favor. But if he came to pit road just a little too soon, he might have to come to pit road.
Frankenfield's on pit road.
Race lead coming to pit road on lap 32. That turns the lead over to Damian Leniger.
And Tooker stay out. So this is the battle for the lead right now.
Yes, it is.
Damian Leniger and David Tooker battling for the race lead. They've been battling for second all day long. Now I guess it's time to battle for the race lead, as they are literally bumper to bumper.
We say this is the battle for the race lead right now, but we should also document Ryan Lutz did pass Chad Frankenfield on pit road. So when the top 3 come to pit road, that might have actually been the future exchange for the lead.
That's true. Now, how far back is Frankenfield going to be from Lutz when everything cycles through?
Right now, Lutz
again.
is in 4th, and Frankenfield's currently scored in 5th. So he's right behind Lutz. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to run him down. Is between the two just yet.
This could be a bold strategy for the top 2, because these tires could mean a lot coming down the stretch at the end.
I'll tell you what, Matthew Weeks, 14th place, a lap down, almost lost it in front of Joshua Clark. Not too far back behind. See there, 3rd place running Andrew Rucker.
Frankenfield's only about 3 seconds behind Lutz.
You can see them both in the same shot right there. The bright yellow 15 just in the background there as we're focused on the 66 of Lutz. So he is not that far behind, and I have a feeling based on the lap times we saw laid down in the first 20 laps that Frankenfield might be able to reel him in.
Tooker is on pit road.
Give up second place. We'll have to see where he cycles out in relation to the 66 and the 15. So really the only driver up at front that we're waiting to come to pit lane is the race leader, the 12 of Lendiger.
Yeah, so now let's see. Will the 12 stretch the fuel as long as he can, or will he pit now that everyone else is pit?
Another thing too that's going to be interesting, talking about this possible brewing battle for the race lead between Frankenfield and Lutz. Frankenfield, yeah, he's had to deal with slower traffic, but he's been out in front this entire race. He hasn't been back in traffic having to figure out where the passing zones are. So you got to wonder, if he does get up to the back bumper of Ryan Lutz for the race lead, is he going to have a car good enough to be able to make a pass?
Exactly. And it should be interesting. And here comes the 12 on pit road now.
Lendiger is going to give up the race lead to come to pit road.
So that's a great
run for him here today. It is, and we'll have to see what the interval is going to be when Lutz crosses the line. I don't know if they're necessarily going to show it. I don't know where Lendiger's pit stall is. I think it might be. He was the pole sitter, so my guess is it's after the start-finish line. Interval is between the two, and it says it's 1.7 seconds between Lutz and Frankenfield.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a interesting battle.
Here's the thing. I just looked at their lap times. Lutz ran a 57.164. Frankenfield was only 7 1,000ths faster with a 1.57.
Do you think Frankenfield's trying to save his stuff right now?
Could very well be, but I don't know how long you can wait. Because, we're entering into 25 laps to go.
Oh, crash! Coming out of the corner.
That's Kendall Noah player. Ooh. Right in front of the leaders. Yikes.
Ooh, that's frightening right there. That's
going. Did the 15 have to whoa up a little bit, do you think? Was that a saving grace maybe for Ryan Lutz to open up the gap a tiny bit?
I think he had to slow up a little bit.
Interval this time at the line was cut down by 0.6, now 1.1 seconds. And Lutz is having to deal with a slower machine here. That's the 86 of Ethan Riesener, who is last car in the lead lap in 14th place. This is going to allow Frankenfield to close quickly.
The 86 gets right out of the way, though, and he's going to tuck right back in behind Lutz, in between him and Frankenfield.
It's really going to come down to, does Lutz have the tires under him to be able to hold off Frankenfield? I would say he's got maybe about 15 laps older tires based on when he came to pit road in relation to the 15.
So we've got about 25 laps remaining. The way they're running right now, Frankenfield last time by, actually we're going to check this time by because they're coming out of the final corner right now. So Ryan Lutz this time by ran a 57.137. Frankenfield was 0.3 quicker with a 56.858. The guy I'm watching right now is David Tooker in the 19. He's coming off final corner now. He's in 5th. He's about 15 seconds behind. He ran a 56.5. He messed up a couple corners that lap, but he still cut it down about half a second. Do you think, if he continues, do you think he's going to have enough time and enough speed by the time he gets up there to actually make a pass?
I think he's going to need a little bit of help. I think he's going to need the race leaders to get held up by some traffic because, we even saw them back on the first green flag run before the pit stops. Frankenfield was continuing to pull away. The only thing that I'm almost wondering was, were we not able to see the full potential of the speed out of the 19 because he was boxed in behind the 12? So maybe now with clear traffic, maybe we'll start to see those lap times you're talking about, and maybe he can close the gap, but I don't know. I think in relation to where Frankenfield is, as he just actually took the race lead back from Lutz, I think that it's going to come down to the lap times and the amount of laps left, whether Tooker can reel him in or not.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting as Tooker has cut it down to 9.5 seconds. Frankenfield and Lutz both had major problems that last lap. Frankenfield ran a minute. Lutz ran a minute 5. Tucker ran a 56-second lap.
Well, they both had gotten around the 86 of Ethan Riesener, and then I just looked, and Riesener was ahead of both of them again. I think the two of them might have made some contact with each other or something and battling for the race lead.
Maybe. I mean, I know I caught it out of the corner of my screen off the final corner, or maybe the second to last final corner. The 66 was sideways. And then you said the 15 got back by him going down, and that's when I saw. But that's definitely interesting. So, like you said, that could possibly help out that 19. As he cut it down another second.
As we look at the 19's charge up to the front, the next car he would encounter would be teammate Ethan Burrow. My assumption is that, realizing his teammate's faster, Burrow will probably move out of the way, I would think. But then he's got the 27 of Isaiah Dupree. You know that Dupree has really been aggressive in trying to pass. My assumption is he's going to be just as aggressive in trying to hold his position. So that might be a little bit of a challenge for Tucker when he gets up to him, if he does.
Right, and in between, and the 94 is sideways in the grass. Keeps it straight. A little help from the 88. But as I was going to say before that, in between that 37 and 27, you have 2 or 3 lap cars. Is car off the track? It looks like the 87, I believe, or the 84. No, 87, my bad.
87 would be Richard Hines, who right now is in the 16th position.
As another car off the track, Josh Adams in the 88. All the 8s are just not having a good day.
And he was running 15th. Right now, we've got 12 cars on the lead lap. 13 cars in the lead lap. Joshua Clark is the last of those.
So Tucker is caught Burrell. Let's see what happens. He is about 8 seconds back from the race leader as we have entered the 20 laps to go mark. So this should get interesting.
I'll tell you what, it's getting interesting for second place. They were side by side for a brief moment between Lutz and Dupree. And Dupree is all over the back bumper of the 66 as Lutz got a little loose off that corner.
Yeah, they're dealing with lap traffic right now, and I'm wondering, has Dupree learned something from earlier in the race? Because he's not driving in as deep as he was. And I think as he gets sideways in the middle of the corner, he might have learned something. And whoa, still sideways.
In the 20 laps to go mark, continuing to look at the lap times, David Tucker continues to run about 8/10 faster than Frankenfield each lap. The only problem is Frankenfield's in the race lead, Tucker's back in 5th.
Yeah, I definitely think the passing the cars is going to hinder him. If he does have enough time, if he continues with this speed, he definitely has enough time to get up there. But will he have enough time to pass him? That's the question.
We've seen a lot of incidents here today as well, but nothing has warranted a full course yellow. But we can't throw out that possibility that something might happen where the yellow flag could come out and everyone gets bunched back up. So all these intervals we're talking about right now, if the caution comes out, they're out the window and everybody's lined back up nose to tail.
Absolutely, and Tucker has made the pass on his teammate Burrell for that 4th position. So Dupree is now his next target, at least for position, as the 91 is his next target on track, as he tries to maneuver his way through lap traffic. And Frankenfield right now, he's coming up on lap traffic too. He's catching the 3 of Scott Haney. He almost had a run-in with him earlier in the race where Haney got a little loose in front of him and bottled him up a little bit. He gets by him pretty cleanly through the final corner, but he's still got 2 or 3 cars in front of him going down into turn 1.
It's going to still be a little bit of work that the 15 car is going to have to do. That's, I believe, the 38 of M. Daniel Martinez. He was involved in the first wreck of the day. Ahead of him, I believe that might be the 5 of Alec Balvance. So, yeah, he's still got some traffic to deal with, but I think most of these drivers ahead of him are drivers that are already a lap down, might be more likely to move out of his way rather than a driver that's on the tail end of the lead lap.
But the thing is, the 5, so the 3 car, as he just passed, he was just put 2 laps down. The 5 and the 83, those are besides the 38, who's multiple laps down, that he actually just passed, the next 2 cars are technically battling for a position. It's a lap down position, but it is a position nonetheless. So that could come into play.
I believe that 83, the 5, and the 3, they're all actually on the same lap battling for position.
Yes, actually. So that could come into play if the 5 and the 83 actually get close enough before the 15 catches them, which I don't think it's going to, as the 5 just moves out of the way for the 15 right there, which we kind of expected. You know, the 5's already a lap down.
I'm trying to work.
Go ahead.
Later here, and the last time I looked at the interval between Frankenfield and Tooker, it was 7.2 seconds. It's now 5.9. When he hits the line, it's going to be 16 laps to go. I'm not sure there's enough time for Frankenfield to be able to get him.
Contact for second, side by side, going down the straightaway, as Lutz is going to have the clear him going down into the final corner. And
look who's looming, just a couple car lengths back behind this battle for second, the 19.
See, this is music to the 19's ears right now. Right, he is just watching all of this.
He can clear these 2. If he can pass these 2 for second, have enough time with 15 laps.
He will definitely have enough time. And you said it earlier. What if the 19 was just being held up by the 12? Well, you know what? The 12 right now is 3 seconds back from the 19 and this battle. He really hasn't made much ground. Granted, we haven't really looked at him much through this run, but I'm not sure if he's been caught up in lap traffic in the wrong spots or what, or maybe just doesn't have the car anymore. But he hasn't really made as much ground as we thought he was going to.
You're right. He's currently in the process of trying to battle Ethan Burrell for 5th place. But yeah, since the pit stops, he's kind of faded back outside of the top 5. Not nearly the same speed out of that machine now as we saw earlier on. And now you've got your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all separated by maybe about 2/10. They are nose to tail. And now we got to see just how aggressive David Tooker is going to be trying to get by Dupree and Lutz, because I think we've seen with the lap times, he's clearly faster than the both of them.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think that he's going to wait a couple laps before maybe both of them get side by side again, or he's going to try and pick them off one by one?
I don't think he can wait. I think if we maybe were halfway in this race, then yeah, he can wait a little bit, but there's 15 laps to go. He's got to make up over 5 seconds between himself and Frankenfield, and I'm almost wondering if Frankenfield might be taking it a little bit easy just in case Tooker gets to his back bumper, and then he'll have something to be able to counter him with. So, you know, it might be a little bit of Tooker laying down the fast lap times and a little bit of Frankenfield just kind of riding, conserving a bit.
It's definitely a possibility, as Frankenfield was battling some lap traffic right there, and it is almost under 5 seconds for Tooker to Frankenfield. They are going to be on the same straightaway. Tooker is able to see Frankenfield. So is that going to change his mindset a little bit? Like, all right, I can see the leader now. Let me put it into another gear. But if he does that, you know, will that warrant a mistake? You know?
Could very well. I mean, I've been really impressed. Oh, wow, Ryan Lutz locked him up going into that corner by Dupree. But, you know, we've seen that Lutz, I was going to mention the fact that with Lutz with the older tires, been doing a pretty good job holding off the 27. 27's been aggressive all race, so those are 2 difficult cars that Tooker's going to have to try and get around before he can even focus on Frankenfield. Yeah, he may be able to see him, but he's got 2 fast cars between him and Frankenfield.
Definitely going to be interesting as the 27 gets sideways, and he lost it.
Oh, there he goes.
The 27 self-spins coming off turn number 1. Didn't hit anything, gets it back going. It looks like he's going to rejoin the racetrack in about the 7th or 8th position. Wow, that's heartbreaking. They've got him
scored 7th right now. Boy, that is... Now he's down to 8th. Tough break there for Isaiah Dupree. No caution though, road course yellow, and now that's another car out of the way of the 19. Now he's all over the back bumper for second of the 66. Only thing I'm wondering though, did he have to lift a little when the 27 was spinning in front of him?
You easily saw it when the 27 was started to spin in the middle of the corner. He checked up hard, but it looks like he is gaining a lot of that time back through the second half of this course, as he has cut the lead to under 5 seconds now, 4.7 seconds, even with that checkup.
Let's also remember too, he's laying down really good lap time, so I think his car is faster than Frankenfield's, but let's also remember, he came to pit road after Frankenfield did. Oh!
Still sideways.
And that's going to allow Tucker to
save.
get around him on driver's right to the second position.
Well, so about getting past those cars.
Yeah, I think the sea parted for him. I don't think he had anything to do with it. Just right place, right time, move around them when they made mistakes.
Yeah, and you know what? It's getting late in the race. It was just a matter of time before it happened to the 66. You know, he's out there on 30-lap old tires. You kind of figured it was gonna happen, you know, eventually. As now, with 10 laps to go, it's down to 4 seconds between the 19 and the 15.
4 seconds even, the last time by between those two. And as I was going to say before we saw the 66 nearly spin, Tooker's got about a lap, maybe a lap and a half fresher tires than Frankenfield does based on when they came to pit road on the cycle green flag pit stop. So that could factor in as well.
But see what I mean, though? That lap and a half means a big deal. Granted, Frankenfield is battling a little bit of lap traffic right now, but it all matters on where you catch him. Right now, Tooker is catching lap traffic and passing lap traffic a lot better than Frankenfield.
Saw him right back there in the background getting around Stephen McGough on the straightaway, whereas Frankenfield had to pass Matthew Weeks in a corner. So you're right, it's all about where he's catching that traffic, I think, also playing a big factor. Right now, everything is factoring into favor of the 19. And as I'm looking, you know, visually as well as the interval, 10 laps to go, I didn't really give him a ghost of a shot. All of a sudden, it looks like he's got himself a very good shot of getting up here and battling with Frankenfield for the win.
Yeah, that last lap, while both of them were battling lap traffic, Tooker ran faster than he did when he wasn't battling lap traffic. He just ran 3/10. He cut the gap
3/10 faster. Yeah, than Frankenfield.
So it's down to 3.7 seconds. This is definitely a battle that is interesting, to say the least. And will this the 91 does not get out of the way for the 19. Will that mess up his entry a little bit? I don't think so. As he just ran even faster. Another 3/10 cut down.
Again, the question of, is this the fact that he is faster or that Frankenfield is saving? It could be a combination of both. We've also mentioned the fact that the 19 has fresher tires, the 19's caught traffic in better areas.
I don't think it's time to save anymore. You got 8 laps to go. I think it's time to go.
It's definitely time to go, because the lap times tick away here, less than a minute a lap. And these drivers, I mean, within the next 10 minutes, this race could be over. So if you're Chad Frankenfield, you got to go. You got to be noticing this interval, and you got to start figuring out, hey, where can I pick up a little bit more speed than I have been? Because that 19 is starting to close in. He's less than 3 seconds back with less than 9 to go.
Yeah, the 19 has been running faster and faster every single lap. And let's see what he runs this time. He ran about the same, and he has cut it down to under 3 seconds. He just gained.
Let's also take a look at where these drivers are positioned as far as the playoffs are concerned. Frankenfield has 2 wins. He's already locked in. David Tooker is still looking for his first victory. So if he gets to Frankenfield, you got to think he's going to be very aggressive, maybe even move Frankenfield out of the way to get his first checker flag of the season.
Definitely going to be interesting, as we have 7 laps to go. And I think Tooker's going to get there. What he does when he gets there, that's up to him. But he definitely has enough time to get there.
No doubt about it. It's the Ford Mustang of Frankenfield, the Toyota Supra of Tooker. Looks like these are going to be the two that will settle it out, as the two are separated by 2.8 seconds currently. The car to deal with up ahead, that's the 28 of Joshua Clark, who is on the tail end of the lead lap.
Tooker only gained a 10th that lap. It looks like Frankenfield either heard what we were saying or someone came over the radio and it's like, all right, he's under 3 seconds. It's time to go.
As I'm looking at this, yes, the 28 is a teammate to the 19. So you gotta wonder, if Frankenfield gets up here to Joshua Clark, is Joshua Clark gonna try and favor his teammate, hold up Frankenfield as much as he can to give Tooker a shot?
Definitely could be interesting. I think he's gonna race him. I don't think he'll intentionally hold him up. Then again, I could be wrong.
We'll have to wait and see, as there's only about maybe 6-7 car length separation between the 28 and the 15. And there you see David Tooker.
Another 3/10 gone.
And that last time by, it was a 57.5 for Frankenfield, 57.1 for David Tooker.
At this
Closing
point,
the gap, continuing to close the gap, but right now the lap counter's not really being his friend, because every lap that ticks away is one less lap that he's going to be able to be on the back bumper of the 15.
exactly. At this point, Tooker's going to have to gain about half a second a lap just to get to the back bumper.
If the 28 can hold the 15 up, just even for a little bit, maybe if the 15 of Frankenfield encounters him in a corner, in a heavy braking zone, that might be enough of an interval for David Tooker to close the gap up.
So something I'm noticing too, the 15 is going to have to deal with another lead lap car if he gets past Joshua Clark. Logan Simmons in the 75. He is struggling a little bit. They're gaining on him a lot, and they actually have 2 more lap cars in front of them. The 75 and the 28, that's going to be a battle for a position. That's a battle for 12th once they get to each other. As Tooker has cut it down to 2 seconds. He gained that 5/10 right there. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
0.2 seconds, the interval when they crossed the line that last time by. 5 laps to go. It's got quite a bit of traffic ahead of him. Had to take that corner a little bit wide as he's trying to cut it down to the right side of the 28. Couldn't do it.
Couldn't get it done that time. And even after he gets past the 28, he's still got 3 more lap cars to go. One of them is a lead lap car. The other 2 are lapped down, but I believe they're battling for position. The 28, it looks like
correct.
The 28's going to take the inside lane. That's going to help the 19 as it's under 2 seconds now.
It's 1.7 now between Tooker and Frankenfield, and as all this is going on, another driver that's actually closing in as well every lap is Ryan Lutz on those older tires. So that just shows you how Frankenfield's times have tapered off, and now finally Frankenfield clears the 28. I don't think the 28 is going to put up a fight for his teammate David Tooker, though.
Yeah, I definitely don't think so, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the 15 catches these next 3 cars. If he catches all 3, as the 28 just moves straight out of the way for the 19, kind of expected from a teammate.
Now it's all about where do you catch the traffic if you're Frankenfield. Your ideal scenario is to catch them on a straightaway, but if you catch them in a corner, definitely play into the hands of David Tooker. 3 laps to go, and the top 2 are separated by less than a second. Here we go, 9/10.
Wow, this is getting intense, and this is the type of racing you see every week from this league. Intense racing, coming down to the wire. These 2 races that I've been a part of, I love it. I really wish I was here for the other 5 weeks, but I can't wait for the rest of the season to see how it plays out, but we got to get through the rest of this race.
Oh, we got a car off course there for a brief moment. That was the 94 of Kendall Noah player. He saves it, keeps it out of the way of the race leaders. And look at this, all over the back bumper now, David Tooker and Chad Frankenfield.
We're coming to 2 laps to go this time. What's going to happen?
One thing I should point out, though, some drivers with aggressive moves and making contact have been hit with penalties, in the last couple of weeks. So if you're Tooker, you've got to make sure that you make a clean move, because if you wreck the 15, you may end up having a points penalty heading into next week.
Definitely could be interesting, as the 19 is right on the back bumper of the 15. Lap traffic is
Look at all the traffic ahead. You got the 75, you got the 5, you got the 2, a whole bunch of cars ahead of the 2 race leaders.
5 gets off track. Will the 19 make a move? Will the 19 move the 15 with the bumper? What's going to happen as we go to commercial break? No, I'm kidding. As the 19 goes to the left side of the 15, can't get it done that corner, diamonds it.
Almost got to wonder, where were his strengths and where were Frankenfield's weaknesses, and will David Tooker be able to expose that? Was he better on the straightaways? Can he make a move maybe into turn 1? I don't know where he was stronger and where Frankenfield was weaker.
Tooker gets a great run through the final corner. White flag in the air as we have
try it here in 1, perhaps. Heads in line there. Where's he going to make his move? Where's the best corner for David Tooker?
Gets out of the way. Will these lap cars get
still ahead of him? 85's only a half car length ahead.
75 gets out of the way. The 19 is right
mono,
on the...
mono.
No lap traffic in front of him. And there's contact.
To move the 15 up the track, can't do it. I think he's only got one other passing zone he can maybe try, and that's coming off the final corner.
Tooker had a great launch off right there. Will he be able to get
there?
He's got him. Here comes the finish.
They're gonna be side by side.
He got him. Oh my gosh! What a finish!
Wow. Might come down, door bang, pinch him, maybe get him, but Tooker, how did he on that inside line get back to the throttle sooner?
Oh my goodness, and I think it was those 2-lap newer tires. I think that's what got him that pull off that final corner. You saw how he was able to just stick on the bottom, on the rumble strips, and that was amazing.
The interval, according to the ticker, was 52 1/1000ths between those two. Holy cow, at a road course, a photo finish at a road course. You don't see that every day.
That's amazing, and there's a bunch of mutual respect you could see between Tooker and Frankenfield. No dirty racing right there. That was just
there wasn't.
Racing.
There was no contact between either one of them. Both of them raced each other clean, but they raced each other hard. That's the kind of finish you like to see, where both drivers give it their all, but they don't wreck each other in the attempt of doing it.
What an amazing race. What an amazing finish. Caution free. Hell, that race only took an hour. I'm ready to do more. No, I'm kidding.
Rack them up. Do it again. Congratulatory bump there from teammate Ethan Burl, and David Tooker not only burning it down in his first checkered flag of the season, but now he adds his name to the list of winners.
So this is best.
He's going to be in the playoffs.
Right? So these races are best 2 out of 3, right?
Exactly. Yep. Okay. We rack them up. Do it again.
All right. So this is heat 1.
Oh man. I mean, who would have thought, with about 8 seconds separation, 15 laps to go, that we were going to have these two side by side come into the start-finish line with the checkered flag in the air?
Didn't I call it, though? I told you this was the guy I wanted to see in victory lane.
You had it pegged perfectly.
You know what? Good for him. He ran a hard race all night long, a patient race. And patience is the key to getting to victory lane.
I'm going to go back. David Tooker is now going to victory lane. I want to go back and just freeze frame what that photo finish looked like between those two, because I want to see at a road course, what does 52 1/1000ths look like? Because my goodness, it was kind of hard to call at first. I thought when the 15 turned right to kind of maybe do a little bit of a door bang perhaps off the corner, I thought maybe he was going to get him. somehow, some way, David Tooker was able to get back to the throttle sooner at that spot at the line. I mean, because you don't see that at a road course. Normally, it's a runaway. Normally, somebody dominates. Somebody's about 5 seconds back in second place. These guys were less than a tenth of a second at the line.
Absolutely amazing.
Give you guys an aerial view of what the finish was. This is at a road course, people, and there was half a car length separation between the two. Credit to David Tooker. I thought maybe he'd make the move down there in turn one. He wasn't able to do it. He tried making the move coming onto the first straightaway. Couldn't do it. But he made the move there in the final corner. Somehow was able to get to the inside. The both of them raced each other cleanly coming to the start-finish line and definitely gave these fans an exciting finish.
Definitely. And that, oh my God. My adrenaline's pumping.
Oh, mine too.
That's a super
Take a look
speedway
at your finishing
right
results
there,
here.
but on a road course.
Exactly. You don't see that every day at a road course, and I do believe I would have to go back and look, but I'm almost 99.9% certain that's the closest finish we've had here this season so far. 52 one-thousandths of a second. There you can see third place was Ryan Lutz. Gutsy call for Ryan. Coming to pit road, first of the cars, probably about 10 laps sooner than everybody else. He was able to still get a third place run on older tires. Ethan Burl, the consistent runs continue for him in fourth. And Damian Lenniger, who started on the pole, kind of faded back there after the green flag pit stops, but he'll get fifth. Joey Bailey finished sixth. Andrew Rucker in seventh. We saw Isaiah Dupree have that spin. He recovered, though, to still finish in eighth. Jared Rexing in ninth. And Rishav Koslov finished in the 10th position. And I believe there were only 11 cars to finish on the lead lap. Last week's winner, Jared Campbell, the last of those. The rest of the finishing results here with all these others that finished a lap down. You see the drivers that finished out of the race. A couple of drivers finished in the garage area, including Austin Beers, Michael Goodman, and Joshua Personette.
So I believe we have the top three.
We do. So let's bring up third place finisher Ryan Lutz. Well, Ryan, congrats on your third place run. A gutsy call there, completely off the sequence of everybody else coming to pit road earlier than most of the other leaders did. What was the car feeling like in the closing stages when those tires started getting worn down?
It was pretty much the hardest thing I had to drive in my life. It was terrible. It was absolutely horrendous.
You're able to hold on for third place, though. And what do you think? If you had had fresher tires there and were still on the same sequence with the 19 to 15, you think you would have had anything for the two race leaders?
I don't think so. I know starting off the race, we didn't have the speed that they had. So I figured if we do a short pit and try something that they were do the opposite of what they did, maybe we can beat them on a pit strategy. But we burned the rear tires off so bad. There was no holding on to Chad or Tooker. They were just so.
Thing that we were kind of trying to figure out here at this particular racetrack is where the passing zones were. Were there any legit passing zones besides turn one, or was it basically you had to make a pass where you felt comfortable?
Yeah, lucky enough. I mean, you had to really get a good timing off the last corner and try to charge them down into one. But that's another honest reason why I did short pit is because I knew it was tough to pass. So I figured if we can get the track position ahead of them, we can hang on for a third or a fourth or a fifth. And we were able to do that. So we were happy coming out.
Now, Ryan, let me ask you something. With about 10 laps to go, when Frankenfield got to you and got by you, was there a little contact there when he passed you? Because we saw you drop back from the lead to about a little ways back.
Yeah, when I got in the last corner, I wheel hopped the right front, and he got under me, and I got sideways shifted first, and he hit me in the right rear and sent me around in the grass. So we were able to recover. It wasn't any. It was just I didn't know he'd be there that quick, and I guess the new tires, the closing rate was so fast. There was only so much he could do. So it's just racing. It's how it goes sometimes. So we were able to finish third. So there's really no complaining about it or no hard feelings about it.
Definitely a gutsy call on your part, but it pays dividends with a third place run. Want to give you the opportunity. Anybody want to shout out or thank?
Yeah, I just got to thank everyone at BKM Motorsports. really been helping me out, especially on the short road course program. I'm not a road course racer. I'm really an oval racer, so this was all new to me. So to come home third, I'm really, really pleased. And thank you to Natural Designs and everyone that helps out and Build and Supply for putting this race on, and hopefully we can get him tomorrow in the modified.
All right. Well, congratulations on your third place run. You say you're not a road course racer. Well, we've got 3 speedways and a super speedway coming up in the next 4 weeks, so probably make you a little bit happier. But still, congrats on a third place run. Great job on those older tires to hang on, and hopefully you can take this momentum into next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Ryan Lutz, the third place finisher. Let's see if we can bring up Chad Frankenfield, who put on a dominating performance. Unfortunately, couldn't get the win, as you guys saw. He finished second tonight, as we are working on getting him up in the booth at this time. Well, Chad, amazing race on your part. Dominating fashion. What happened at the end?
I'm not sure. I don't know if he stayed out a little bit longer than I did. I really didn't check. But he was just better at the end. That's all I was to it. That's how these races go. I mean, this league is just so competitive. Nothing's ever a given. I don't think the lead was ever really beyond 6, maybe 5 seconds. And kudos to him, man. I mean, me and him have been racing together a long time, and he really could have just dumped me in that last corner, but he bumped me a little bit, got me a little loose, and at least gave me a shot to race him to the line. And I don't think you could ask for a better finish than that. I mean, that's I gave him a little door tap there just to let him know, like, man, that was awesome. If you're gonna lose, that's definitely how you want to do it.
I mean, if you had told me that the closest finish of the season so far was going to be at a road course, I'd have called you a liar. So,
yeah, I mean, anybody that knows our league would tell you that it's not surprising. You look at Sebring. Sebring came right down the last couple laps. On the Cup side, the Roval, I mean, it was right there to the end. Our voted best race of the year last year was Coda, because it was the same thing. We were banging doors coming to the line after a full race. So I don't know what it is with the road courses, man. I mean, there's so many competitive guys, and it was exciting.
Do you think that contact with Ryan Lutz with about 15 laps to go, do you think that hurt the car at all towards the final stretch?
Probably not. Ultimately, what it probably did was it cost me that half a second to a second that I would have needed to win the race. So again, it should, coulda, woulda. I'm sure there were moments throughout the race there where I could have gained time and I wasn't really hitting my mark. So it's really, you can't really blame it on one moment. He manned up and he said, "Hey, I chopped you there. It was my fault." And this is the way it is. I mean, you're going 40 miles an hour on a little quick hairpin corner or a little tight hairpin corner, and things are going to happen. So, but yeah.
You alluded to Sebring, and a thing that I noticed in comparison with Sebring to this race was the difficulty of getting around slower traffic.
Sorry, you cut out there. Talking about lap traffic.
The comparison between Sebring and here with the lap traffic. I mean, was there was it more difficult here, or was it just as bad as Sebring?
Very difficult, and you know what? I'm going to give the credit to the guys that were, they gave plenty of room to me and the leaders. This was not a tough track or an easy track for that. When we talked about this track, we tested this track out. We pictured it being like a Martinsville, and it's basically what it was. I mean, it's tough to just move over. There's not a lot of room. At least Sebring, you had a couple long straightaways to break up the corners, so you could at least jump to a guy. And here it's just there's so much going on. Again, maybe without lap traffic, do I maybe hold them? Again, probably, but again, he had to deal with it too. So it can go both ways.
Well, I'll tell you this right now on the bright side. After tonight's performance, I believe you are going to be the points leader going into next week. So with that being said, do you want to shout out anyone? Do you want to thank anyone?
I just want to thank 90 Motorsports, my team. Thank Elite Racing Leagues. Thank all the officials, admin, everybody that's been, doing everything they can here, you know, this season. And it's, it's really that's all I could ask for. So.
All right. Well, congrats on your second place run. Obviously, I know you would have loved to have been a win, but as Tom alluded to, you're probably going to take the points lead over and you continue a good streak of momentum heading into next week's race. So wish you luck there at Charlotte. And thank you from both of us for that exciting finish.
Yeah, absolutely. See you later.
It's always a pleasure. All right, that was second place, Chad Frankenfield, who put on an amazing race. Now, it's time to get our winner up here. First win of the season for him. Punched his ticket into the playoffs.
Well, David, back at the first road course stop at Sebring, we interviewed you, finishing second place to the 15. Here tonight, second road course stop, we interview you, finishing 52 1,000ths ahead of the 15 car. Talk about those final 15 laps. I mean, you cut down a 7-second lead to be on the back bumper of Frankenfield in that final corner.
Well, I can tell you it definitely was not easy. I'm just so full of emotion right now. It's going to be hard to do this interview, but I knew Chad pitted earlier on that first stop, and I knew that he was going to be saving tires to the end, so I knew I had to push really, really hard to try to catch him. And lap traffic was there. Luckily, they stayed out of the way fairly good tonight. I knew this was going to be a rough track for them to get out of the way, but it's this track was a lot like Sebring. It's more of a mental strength kind of track where you got to keep yourself in rhythm, and if you make a mistake, you're going to pay for it.
Well, definitely on that last run, it didn't look like you made any mistakes whatsoever. During the pre-race, I picked you as the guy to look out for after hearing what you did at Sebring. I'm proud that I called this one, but what was going through your head after watching the 27 spin out in front of you and then watching Ryan Lutz just get loose and wiggle in front of you? Did you think like, all right, I got past them now, let me focus, or did the nerves start getting to you?
As soon as I got to the 27, I knew him and Lutz were battling pretty hard, so I just had to keep my cool, not overdrive, hit them, or do anything stupid. But unfortunately, Dupree spun out off that first turn. I think Lutz might have locked up in front of him, and they just had a bit of contact, and it just didn't end well for him. And then I was working my way up to Lutz, and as soon as I got there, he made a mistake. Unfortunately, he didn't get the good end of it. And once I knew I got past them, I knew it was going to be focus and push hard right back to where I was trying to catch Chad.
We know that you ended up finishing second at Sebring. You finished second at Richmond. Now with this win, that locks you into the playoffs. This is the last road course stop for the regular season. We now go to 1.5 2-mile speedways. We've got the Daytona International Speedway for the regular season finale. So with that win in the bank, does that change your mentality, your level of aggressiveness going into those next 4 races here in the regular season?
Not really. I'm still gonna have the same mentality, push 100% as much as I can to try to get more wins, stockpile up on those wins, because I know those are going to be important once it gets down to the last few races of the regular season. So I'm glad we got one early at a track that I would most likely prefer, like road courses. But I feel like this was going to be my strong point, and I had to capitalize, and luckily I did.
We know you're going to be locked into the playoffs. First stop for the playoffs is at Watkins Glen, so that's probably got to put a smile on your face. But man, congrats on the photo finish, coming out on top there, being able to edge ahead. Want to give you the opportunity here to shout out and thank anybody that you want to.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Pro Edge Racing, team that picked me up. I've been racing with those guys, well, a lot of those guys for years. recently just met Joshua Clark, so he's a pretty cool guy. But this team, we work so hard together trying to get ourselves into positions where we can get wins, and I can't thank those guys enough for pushing me and helping me get up front. And also, I want to give a shout out to the guys that run this thing, Chad, Vic, Joshua Personet, all those guys, the behind the scenes guys that do a lot for us to put us on the track.
All right. Well, like we said, dude, congrats on punching your ticket into the playoffs. Congrats on your first win of the season. Great race. Hopefully we'll be able to see more of that going forward from you.
I'm definitely gonna be trying. It's definitely a motive for me.
As it should be. It's always a pleasure. Hopefully we hear from you soon back in the booth. Hopefully you can ride this wave of momentum into the playoffs and continue.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right. Enjoy your win, David.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
celebrate, man. Well, what a race.
All right. So, man, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it just fate that every time you join me in the booth, we end up having something like this happen, Tom? Because wow, like I
think
said, it's a road course. I would not have expected a photo finish at a road course. It's insane.
I think it's me. It's probably me.
I think it is you. I think it's you.
No, it's not me.
I'll tell you what. I mean, we're taking a road course, a 52 finish at a road course, and look at the tracks we're going to in the next coming weeks. We're going to Charlotte next week. Following week, we're heading to Chicagoland, Michigan, Daytona. These are other tracks that we may more than likely associate a photo finish with, and we saw a photo finish at a road course. It just makes me more excited for these tracks that are coming up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, we had trouble calling that photo finish at a road course. If we go to these tracks, the finish is going to be closer. It could be, at least. That's going to be more exciting for us, and that's going to give me more anxiety because it's going to be like, well, what the heck?
Thing too is we're getting closer to the end of the regular season, so we're going to see the aggressiveness, the intensity pick up with drivers trying to make last-minute moves to get themselves into the playoffs. We now have David Tooker joining the list of drivers with Kendall Noah Player, Joshua L. Adams, Frankenfield, Riggs, Campbell. So there's the list is starting to pile up. So the sense of urgency for drivers to make their way into the playoffs via wins. We're going to tracks where it's all about speed. It's all about hitting your marks. Definitely brings some other players that maybe we haven't talked about the last couple of weeks. It's going to bring them to the forefront.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, especially because the way Michigan's set up now, where it's basically full throttle. Well, not basically, but Daytona, anybody can win. As long as you stay out of trouble, anybody can win. Michigan can be troublesome at times, but if you are racing smart and everything, you will have a good run. Charlotte, really, Charlotte's not that hard to get around. Same with Chicagoland. Really, it could be anybody's game these next 4 weeks, and we could see people that you might not have seen in the first handful of races up front, and it could be, wow, all right, they might have had these races circled on the calendar, like, all right, I want to perform here, 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 and here. And they might tank the first part of the season. But then these last 4 races come about, and it's like, wow, all right, this person just won that we haven't seen in forever. It's anybody's game still.
And a thing I like really about these tracks as well is it doesn't necessarily have to be a driver that's dominating the race. These kind of tracks have huge potentiality of someone rolling the dice, doing some kind of pit strategy, gaining track position as a result, and maybe it will work out. And somebody that we see running 15th, 16th, 17th for the first half of the race, all of a sudden they're up there leading the race with 5 to go.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, Daytona, anybody can win. You could be running first on the, second to last lap, and then next thing you know, you're 18th on the white flag. It's all about who you're drafting with and who your friends are there. Now, like you said, you could roll the dice, with a late race caution at, any one of those other 3 tracks. And you hold on for those last 5 laps. Say you get a caution with 5 laps to go, or you get a green white checker. You'll have people taking 2 tires. You'll have people taking no tires. You'll have people staying out. That it could possibly shuffle the field up.
Well, it's definitely going to be interesting. 3 speedways and a super speedway to cap off the season, and we head into that stretch on the heels of a photo finish at a road course. 52 1,000ths of a second over Chad Frankenfield to take the checkered flag here at the Tsukuba circuit. That's going to end off our broadcast here this week. Tom, thanks for being with me. Great to have you back in the booth.
It's great to be back. And you know what? I'm very excited for next week. I'm very excited for the weeks to come. I'm very excited for the play. I'm just very excited after tonight's race.
I echo every syllable. Hopefully everybody that tuned into the broadcast enjoyed it as well. We'll see you guys next week as we will be at the 1.5 mile speedway known as Charlotte Motor Speedway. Until then, we're signing off.
Later.